So we're starting here on page 30, and this is line 307. And we start with this word hos, meaning so or thus. And ara is one of these particles which we can really ignore here. Toi is they, right? Toi or hoi in Homer means they, nominative masculine plural. So thus, they. And then we have a participle, epesoumenoi, that means rushing upon. And it takes accusative case, rushing upon, and the object is menesteras, accusative plural, meaning the suitors, right? So rushing upon the suitors. And then the main verb is tupton. This verb tupto means to hit or strike. So they struck. And again, the object will be the same. They struck the suitors. And then we have this adverb epistrophaden, which means on every side, all over the place. And then we have this phrase kata doma, kata plus accusative, meaning through or throughout. And then the doma is the room, the hall. So they struck them on every side through the hall. So Odysseus and his friends are attacking the suitors, basically. And our new subject is stonos, which means a groaning noise. And the adjective describing it is aekes. Right now, aekes means seemly, fitting, beautiful, something like that. But it has at the beginning here what we call the privative alpha, the alpha that makes it the opposite meaning. For example, a theist, someone who believes in God; atheist, someone who doesn't, because it's got that privative alpha on the front. Similarly, music, for instance, can be tonal, or it can be atonal, A-T-O-N-A-L. So it's the same thing in Greek, that privative alpha. Aekes, meaning hideous or unseemly or horrible, something like that. And then the main verb is ornuta, from ornumi, which means to rise up. So that means arose, third person singular. And here tone means from them. Right, this is hoi, meaning them, but it's in the genitive case because it's this idea of from them. In prose, you might say apa, two-tone, or something like that. But Homer just leaves out the apa and just uses the genitive case on its own. So from them, a hideous groaning arose. And then we have a genitive absolute here, kraton tuptomenon. Kraton is heads, right? Genitive plural of kras, meaning a head. And tuptomenon is a passive participle from tupto, to strike. So this phrase, this genitive absolute, means with heads being struck. And the whole floor, hapan meaning whole, like pasa, pan, and dapedon meaning the floor, the whole floor. Thue, that means ran or swam or flowed or something like that. This is another meaning. The verb thuo, it can mean I sacrifice, but it can also mean to be flowing with something. And in this case, flowing with blood, haimati. Right, so haima in Greek is a neuter noun that means blood, and there are various words in English that come from this, hematology, hemophiliac, and so on. And here it's dative because it means with blood. And if you think about this verb thuo, there is a connection between the two different meanings, right? The basic meaning of thuo is I sacrifice. And of course, when you sacrifice an animal, it produces lots of blood. So this other meaning of thuo, meaning to flow or to be saturated or something, is linked to the primary meaning of sacrifice. Okay, and then we go to this next paragraph, line 310. Leodes de, but Leodes. And then we have a participle, episumenos, right? This verb episuo plus genitive means to rush at something. So having rushed at, and then the genitive following it is gounon. Genitive plural of gonu, meaning a knee, K-N-E-E. So having rushed at the knees of Odysseus, odouseos, genitive case, he labe, he clasped them. And we have to imagine the word for knee again, like gunas or something. So he rushed at Odysseus's knees and clasped them. Now, why is he doing this? He's doing this because in ancient Greece, clasping someone's knees, coming up to someone, kneeling down in front of them, and grabbing their knees was a gesture of supplication. It's a way of saying, please, I surrender, I've lost, you've won, please pity me, that kind of thing. So that's what he does. And Kai, begging him, right? So lissomenos is another participle, it means begging, lissomai, to beg, and then min is the object, meaning him. And in later Greek, that word would be auton, A-U-T-O-N, but in Homer we get min, right, there it is. So begging him, he proseuda, he spoke, and then the object is epea, which is words, right? And epos is a word, like logos in later Greek. And I'll write that in as well. So logos is the later Greek version. And then the adjective is pteroenta, which means winged, or with wings, like a pterodactyl, which literally means wing-fingered. Okay, so he spoke to him, and then if we go down to the next paragraph, line 312, we can see what he says. And he starts his speech with gounumai, which means I beseech or I beg. And this is connected to the Greek word for a knee, gonu, K-N-E-E in English, because begging someone in ancient Greece often meant kneeling in front of them and grasping their knees. So I beseech, and then the object is se here, which has been abbreviated to S apostrophe because it's followed by a vowel. I beseech you, and then you have the vocative odouseu, that's the vocative of odouseus. So the S at the end disappears to make it vocative. I beseech you, Odysseus. And then we have two imperatives, aideo, that's an imperative from aideomai, to respect or revere someone. So he says, respect me, me. And then you've also got the word su in there because he's talking to Odysseus. So literally, you respect me, and Kai, pity me, right? Eleison, pity. And then we've got me again as the object. Now, why does he think that Odysseus should respect him or revere him? We'll find out in a moment. It's to do with the fact that he's not just a random suitor, he's actually a priest or a prophet or a soothsayer, something like that. He has a religious role. And so he's hoping that because he has this religious role, Odysseus will respect him and allow him to live. Okay, and then he says, for gar, introducing an explanation. So he's now telling Odysseus why he should pity him. And then we have this construction in Greek, ou themi, ou themi. That means to deny that something is the case, or to say that something is not the case. So literally, I deny, and then we have to imagine the subject, which is I. He's talking about himself. So I deny that I have spoken a pain. Or done. So ude means and not, and rexai means to have done. So I deny that I have spoken or done. And then this is followed by a double accusative. One accusative for the thing that has been done, and another accusative for the person to whom it has been done. So, I deny u femi that I have spoken a pain or done u de rexai. And the first object is ti atalaston. Ti means anything, and atalaston means sort of wicked or evil. Now, in English, you would say, I deny that I've done anything bad to someone. So you might expect a dative, but Greek actually does that with another accusative. A bit like in old-fashioned English, you could say something like, he has done me good. Instead of saying, he has done good to me, we can say, he has done me good. That's what Greek does. So I deny that I've said or done anything evil to any, so tina is our other object, meaning to any, or to one, of the women, gunaikon genitive plural, en megaroisin, in the halls, or in your halls. And then there's also this word po in here, which is rather strange, which means yet. So rather oddly, he's saying, I haven't yet done anything bad to these women. I don't think, in English, that sounds a little bit like he's intending to do something bad in the future. I think in Greek, the implication is a bit different. I think he's saying, all this time, right up until now, I haven't done it. He's emphasizing that he hasn't done it at any time. So he's saying, look, Odysseus, I have not at any time done anything, all the way to the present. I have not done anything bad to the women in your halls. And then he says, in fact, it's quite the opposite. Allah, but. And then kai here can mean and, but I think in this phrase, we could translate it as even, right? So even, paueskon, I kept stopping, right? This is an imperfect tense, but it's not quite just the verb pauo. It's pauesko. It's this idea of I kept doing it. I kept stopping. And the object is alus mnesteras, the other suitors. So he's saying, not only did I not do anything bad myself, I even tried to stop the others. And then he specifies who he was trying to stop. He was trying to stop the suitors, whichever of them, hotis, or you could say whoever, was doing resdoi. And then the object is toiauta, such things, neuter plural. The word get here is another particle that we don't really need to include. The word resdoi here, by the way, is in an optative form. The optative in Greek is very much like the subjunctive, and it's used here because it's a kind of indefinite meaning. Like he's not just talking about one particular occasion. He's saying any time that someone was doing these bad things, I tried to stop them. Okay, now let's go over the page to line 316. So he says, I was trying to stop them, but Allah, peithonto, they were not obeying. Right, remember, peitho to persuade, but peithomai in the middle means to obey. That's what we've got here. They were not obeying me, moi. Right, so peithomai takes dative, to obey someone. They were not obeying me. Ekestai, to hold back, to restrain, you could say. This is the middle of echo, literally to hold back for themselves, to restrain. And the object is keiras, their hands. Apo kakon, apo plus genitive meaning from, and kakon neuter plural meaning bad things. So they were not obeying me to restrain their hands. In other words, they were not obeying me when I told them to restrain their hands from bad actions. And then we have this word to, literally meaning by this, or therefore. So literally because of this, and atastaliesin, dative case, by their arrogance. Right, so by this and by their arrogance, or you could say therefore, through their arrogance. Epespon, they have met. Literally, ephepo is to follow something. They've followed or met. An aikea potmon. Aikea, that's the adjective we saw on the previous page as well, meaning disgraceful or unseemly or hideous or something like that. We saw it on the previous page with the groaning, the aikes stonos, the horrible groaning sound. Right here, it's the suitors who have met a disgraceful potmos, which means a fate. So he's basically saying, look, those suitors, they didn't listen to me, so they deserved to die. Right? You were quite right, Odysseus, to kill them, but you shouldn't kill me. So he then says, autar ego, but I, thuos gos, the prophet, or their prophet. And then we have a participle eorgos, meaning having done. And the object is uden, meaning nothing, right? Having done nothing. I will lie, in the sense of lie down in death, keisomai, future of kemai. I will lie meta toisi, meta plus dative, meaning with them. I will lie with them. As hos, or because, uk esti charis, there is not, uk esti, charis, gratitude, euergeon, for good deeds. In English, we say gratitude for something. Greek says gratitude of something, so that's why euergeon is genitive. There is no gratitude for good things, metopiste, afterwards. So he's saying, he's asking Odysseus to spare him, but then at the end he sort of says, I realize that life is unfair, I did the right thing at the time, but, in this world, you don't get paid back for the good things that you did in the past, so I guess I'll have to die with them, even though that's not fair. And then, as we'll see in line 320 and following, Odysseus does not really agree with this. Right, because ara, now this is one of those particles, we don't really have to translate it. I translated it as then in this case, but I wouldn't worry about it. And then the participle, the first verb really in this line, the participle is idon, which means looking or having looked. And then hupodra literally means from underneath. So I think the idea is from underneath his brows. In other words, Odysseus is frowning and his eyebrows are sort of sticking out and he's glaring at, what's his name? Leodes, from under his brows. So looking at him from underneath, literally. Polymertis Odysseus, crafty Odysseus. That's one of his epithets, Polymertis. Crafty Odysseus, prosepher ton, addressed him. And then we go into direct speech in line 321. He says, a dare, if indeed, right, and men is a particle here that I didn't translate, if indeed you boast, UKI, to be, anai, a prophet, thuoskoos, metatoisi, among them, meta plus dative, among them. Polaki pu, right? Polaki means often. In later Greek, it would have an S on the end, polakis. And then pu is one of these particles, which means something like surely or I suppose, or perhaps, something like that. So often, I suppose. Meles aremenai. Now, mello plus an aorist means I will have done something. I inevitably did something. I must have done something. So meles aremenai means you must have prayed in the halls, en megaroisi, en plus dative, which in later Greek would be en megarois, without the iota on the end, in the halls. And in Greek, if you pray for something, you pray plus accusative and infinitive. You pray that something happen. So you prayed in the halls for the telos, there's our accusative. And the infinitive, by the way, is, sorry, just change the alphabet in these annotations. So telos is our accusative and genestai is our infinitive. So you prayed, you must have prayed for the fulfillment, telos, or end, something like that, of a nostoia glukeroia. Okay, nostos means homecoming, which is where the word nostalgia comes from in English, and glukeros, or in later Greek, glucose means sweet, which is where those words like glucose and things come from. So, yes, and these are both genitive, oia, right, that Homeric genitive ending, oia, so that the fulfillment of a sweet homecoming become, genestai, telu is an adverb that means far away, for me, emoi, dative case. Now in English, we wouldn't say far away for me, we would say far away from me. So that's why I translated emoi as from me. So you'd have prayed for that to happen. And then he would have prayed for something else. So we get more accusatives and infinitives. We get allokon. And then we get two more infinitives, spestai and tekestai. So you would have prayed for my allokon philen, my dear wife, to spestai soi. Now spestai is an infinitive from hepomai, meaning to follow, and it takes dative. So to follow you, which I think means something like to marry you, really. And kai, to tekestai tekna. Now, tekestai means to bear or have or beget. And then the object is tekna, meaning children. And then we can add, we can translate soy again, meaning for you. In other words, you were probably praying in the hall that I would die and that you would be able to marry my wife Penelope and have children with her. So he's basically saying that this guy Laodes is being hypocritical. You're saying that you were trying to restrain the suitors, but actually you were just as bad as any of them. And because you're a prophet, or you're a religious man, you should have been praying for my safety, for the good of the household, etc. Instead, you were probably praying for my death, and that you would be the one who gets to marry Penelope. We have no idea what Odysseus's evidence for all this is, but he clearly thinks all the suitors are basically as bad as each other, even the prophets among them. So then he says, in line 325, he says, to, therefore, uk, meaning not, and then we have an plus an optative verb, an profugoista, and the word an and the optative mood just give us this sense of would, right? So therefore, you would not escape. I suppose meaning, it would not be right for you to escape. You would not escape. Thanaton dus elegeia. Death is thanaton, and the adjective dus elegeia, meaning grievous or bitter or something like that. So in other words, he's saying, I'm going to kill you in any case. Now let's, now that we've done those 2 pages, let's just have a quick look at a bit of scansion. So let's go back to the top of page 30, back to line 307, and look at the first line there, line 307. So first thing to do, remember, is to find the last 5 syllables, which is noi, kata, do, ma. Right, so that's the first thing to do, is you find the last 5 syllables and you mark them long, short, short, long, X. Okay? So those are the last 5 syllables. That gives us the last 2 feet, dactyl, spondy. And then the next thing to think about, and of course we can also do the first syllable of the line. The first syllable is always long, so hos there, which would be long anyway because it has the omega. And the next thing to do, I would say, is to have a look and see if there are any other syllables that we know are long. So for example, here, mner is long because it has an eta, which is a long vowel. And mner ster, that's also long because that also has an eta. So that gives us 2 longs there. The word toy is likely to be long because it's a diphthong, but we can't be certain yet. This syllable here, mner, by the way, that's long partly because of the eta, but we can also tell it's long because it's followed by 2 consonants, mner st, st. Okay. Now, any that we know are short, well, so this one here, me, is going to be short because it's an epsilon, which is a short vowel, and it's not followed by a double consonant. Now, there's 2 others of which we can say that. The air here, sorry, one other of which we can say that. The air there is going to be short because it's an epsilon followed by a single consonant. And then this epsilon is going to be long because it's an epsilon followed by a double consonant. It's followed by 2 S's. Now, if you look at this epsilon here, and the penultimate syllable of epesumenoi, we already know that epsilon is short. Now, if you've got a short syllable at the end of a foot, you must be in a dactyl. So this syllable is going to be short as well. So that gives us pesume, right? That's a dactyl. And then, same thing here, right? The air at the beginning of epesumenoi is also a short syllable at the end of a foot, so that foot must be a dactyl. So the alpha here must be, that must be a short syllable. So steras e, that's going to be a dactyl as well. Now here we have mner, that's a long syllable at the end of a foot, so therefore it must be the end of a spondy. And that makes sense because we suspected that toy would be a long syllable anyway. So that gives us a spondy here. All right. Now, what have we got left? We've got hos, which is long, and then ara. Now, we've got 2, well, let's say we've got 3 syllables, and we only have 1 foot left, right? Because we've already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 feet. So we've got 1 foot still to go because we need 6 total, and 3 syllables. So if you've got 3 syllables to fit into 1 foot, that must be a dactyl. Okay, so in total, that gives us hos ara toi mner ster rase pesumenoi katadoma. Okay, so we get dactyl, spondy, dactyl, 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 spondy. That's the whole line. Let's do the same thing for the next line, line 308. So what you might want to do is you might want to have a go at this yourself, you know, pause the video, have a go at it yourself, and then press play again to see how it works. So again, find the last 5 syllables. Now, the last 5 syllables in this line are nut, a, and then a kes, right? I kes is 3 syllables. You've got a on its own, the privative alpha. You've got a diphthong, and then kes at the end. So that gives us the last 2 feet. Okay, there we go. Now, in fact, this last syllable of I kes is long because it's got an eta in it. But you don't even have to know that. You could just do an X there. Okay. And in fact, we could have worked out that the or at the beginning of nut is long because it's got an omega in it. And also the A of I kes was likely to be long because it's a diphthong. But anyway, we've got those last 5 syllables, the last 2 feet. So let's have a look and see if there are any syllables that we know to be long. So the first syllable of the line has to be long. And it's also long because it's a vowel followed by a double by 2 consonants. This one here, epi, that should be long because it's followed by st, 2 consonants. This one should be long, den, because it has an eta in it, which is a long vowel. This one should be long, tone, because it has a long vowel, an omega. This one, de, should be long, because even though it has a short vowel, epsilon, that vowel is followed by 2 consonants, stonos. And we have a few that should be short. The second syllable of ton should be short because omicron is a short vowel and it's not followed by a double consonant. The at the beginning of epistrophaden should be short because it's a short vowel epsilon not followed by a double consonant. The same is true of the o in the middle of epistrophaden, short vowel not followed by a double consonant. And that also should be true of the 2 omicrons in stonos, the 2 syllables of stonos. Both are short vowels, both followed by a single consonant. So those should be short. And you'll notice we now have some of it already done, right? We've got the first foot, dactyl. We've got this foot, de stonos. We've got this foot, den tone. Right? And now we only have 1 syllable left, which is the a in epistrophaden. And as you can see, that has to be short because it's going to complete a dactyl. So that gives us the whole line, tup ton epistrophaden ton des stonos nuta eikes. And just check at the end to make sure you've got the right number of feet. So count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so you've got 4, you've got 6 feet, so you've got your full hexameter line. Okay, let's do one more of those with line 309. So again, count the last 5 syllables. Hai mati thue. So hai mati, dactyl, and then thue. So mark in long, short, long, X. Okay. And again, we could have suspected that the first syllable of haimati was long because it's a diphthong, but it doesn't matter, we know it. Now, again, the first syllable of the line is always going to be long because it's either the beginning of a dactyl, which is long, or it's the beginning of a spondy, which is long. And let's see what else has to be long. The second syllable of kratone has to be long because it's a long vowel, omega. The first syllable of tuptomenen is going to be long partly because it's the first syllable of a foot, but also more importantly, it's a vowel followed by two consonants. It's an upsilon followed by a pi and a tau. The last syllable of tup tomenon will be long because it's got a long vowel in it, an omega. And what else can we say? The second syllable of tup tomenon should be short because it's a short vowel, omicron, followed by a single consonant. Same for the third syllable of tup tomenon, right? That's a short vowel epsilon followed by a single consonant. Same for the second and third syllables of dapedon, right? You've got an epsilon and an omicron, both followed by single consonants. So those should be short, short. Okay, so that gives us a good starting point, right? We've got the first foot, kra, tone, spondy. We've got the second foot, tup, tome, dactyl. Sorry, I just realized I said something slightly wrong before when I said, where was it? Yeah, when I said the third foot of dapedon should be short because it has an omicron followed by a single consonant, that's wrong because it's an omicron followed by a double consonant. It's followed by an N and then a D in the next word. So apologies, that should actually be long, dapedon, okay? Right. Now at this point, what we have is long at the end of tomenon, and then something, and then short. That means that the first syllable of dapedon must be short. Because if it was long, we'd have a spondy, non da, but then the next foot would start with a short syllable, and that's not possible, right? Dactyls and spondies both start with long. So that this must be a dactyl, non dape. Okay. Now what have we got left? We've got a long at the end of dapedon, and then two more syllables, hapan. So we've got three syllables, and how many feet have we got to work with? We've already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need one more foot, and we've got two syllables left, or three if you include the end of dapedon. So these must be short, short. So that gives us the whole line. Kraton tup tomenon dapedon dapan hai mati thue. Okay. Now I won't do any more of those lines, but if you want, at home, just try some more. You know, have a go at line 310, have a go at line 311, and see how you go. And we can look at some more of those together in class.